Welcome to Spirit Club, a podcast and community where we talk about what's really running the show, your inner world. I'm Angel, your host, your guide, and your spiritual bestie. Around here, we're all about doing the inner work because your outer reality is only ever a reflection of what's going on within. We practice radical ownership, freedom in faith, surrendering our path to God, and trusting our intuition like our lives depend on it. Because honestly, they do. So take a breath, open your heart, and let's dive in. Welcome back, Spirit Club. Do you feel frustrated or disappointed? Like you're spinning your wheels, but you're kind of like pushing forward but staying in one place? I think I might know why, and this episode is for you. Today we're going to talk about acceptance, accepting what is, and through accepting what is how we're actually able to move forward. Okay, so let's start by addressing what is acceptance. Acceptance is when you stop pushing against what's true and you meet it. So I have this visual, see if it works for you. It's like I'm picturing you and you're like walking forward steadfast, and there is someone standing in front of you with their hand forward, if you see me in video, and their hand is pressing against your forehead. And you've got your head down and you're just like pushing forward, walking in place. Okay, so this is what not accepting looks like. You're just kind of like driving forward, driving an agenda, expectations, whatever it is, and you're not looking up and meeting the truth. So what is acceptance? It's looking up and meeting the truth and thereby stopping that forward motion temporarily. So you'll know that this episode is for you if you're feeling frustrated or disappointed that things aren't going the way that you thought they would. Or maybe you are being really hard on yourself for not doing XYZ, not being XYZ. Or, like I said at the beginning, you feel like you're spinning your wheels, like you're driving forward, but you're just like staying in place. These are all signs that acceptance may be what you need. So let's talk about what acceptance can feel like, what it can bring you. I'm going to try sell you on acceptance to see if it's something you might want to do. So I'll start with like a warning. At first, acceptance may feel like giving up, especially if you're someone who's ambitious and driven and knows that they're meant for more. At first, you're going to perceive acceptance as though you are giving up because truthfully, you may be having to give up on your own agenda. You may be having to give up on what ego wants. You may be having to set aside your ego, your will, to align with the will of God. So, it may feel a little bit like giving up a hope, giving up an expectation, giving up an outcome, giving up an agenda. But it isn't truly giving up because the actual energy of giving up, and I know we've talked about this before, is more resentful. It's more, it's got a lot more frustration, and ultimately, truly giving up is neglecting what matters to you, neglecting the path. Whereas acceptance is actually keeping you on path. So acceptance will ultimately feel like peace or relief. So like I said, it might not feel that way at first, because at first you're going to sort of be battling that feeling of giving up. But ultimately it just feels like a weight's been lifted from your shoulders because you're meeting the truth of what is, and the simplicity of that, the peace of that. Oh, I can feel it right now. It's actually quite nice. So you have that to look forward to. And again, if we go back to the metaphor of someone's pushing their hand against your forehead, And acceptance being looking up and stop driving forward and seeing what you're pushing against. Of course, that's going to feel like a bit of a relief, right? You're not pushing against anything anymore. And then finally, acceptance, and this is the fun part, will actually eventually feel like flow, like natural flow, like natural forward motion of a river. You know, when a river like comes up against a blockade, a dam, for example, oh, that's great. Not accepting is like the dam. It's like holding the dam. And some trickles of water are going past it, but once you accept, you kind of like free the dam and the water gets to run forward eventually. It just might not be in the way that you thought and the way that you wanted and the timing that you wanted. And honestly, I can't really explain why we must accept in order to see this forward motion. You know, maybe it's kind of, if you go back to the metaphor, how will we ever release the dam if we don't just look up and see that it is there, meet the truth of it? But I can give you an example. Recently in my life, I was doing a month of a geology contract in the field. And leading up to this, I had this vision of my time in the field. Of course, I would be working, but I also felt like it was going to be deeply creative, and I was going to have all this time to work in my business and a lot of space and time with myself to like dive in creatively and come out on the other side with some clarity. And while I was out in the field, I was feeling like frustrated because I wasn't finding the time or the energy to do what I had hoped that I would do. And eventually I accepted it. Eventually I was like, no, you are here to do a job, the geology job, and expecting more than that is unreasonable. That's not what you're here to do. So let it go. So I looked up, I saw the truth of it. The truth of it was I didn't have the time or the energy. I just didn't. So I met the truth of that. I accepted it with grace. And funny enough, without even trying, without even really doing anything, that clarity came through. That flow happened naturally on its own. I didn't have to push it forward. So that's what you have to look forward to by practicing acceptance, by accepting what is. So I feel like it's prudent to talk about why we don't want to accept what is, because I honestly, when I sit here, I can't think of one person who like naturally does this. So I'm like, it got me thinking, like, what's that about? So I sat with it, you know, as I do. So why don't we want to accept things? First of all, because we want what we want. We get attached to our desires, our outcomes, our goals, our timing. We get attached to what we believe is true. And as we discussed earlier, there is a part of us that believes accepting what is means giving up on what we want. Now, I'm going to be totally honest. It might. It might mean that. It might mean you have to give up on what your ego wants, okay? And it might be hard for you to determine which is which, but ultimately your true soul desires align with those of God. And whatever it is that you have to give up on through acceptance will not be, you are not giving up on the desires of your soul, what God wants for you. You're giving up on ego. You're giving up on like what your wounds are trying to accomplish. So another reason why it's hard for us to accept things is because some of us believe that acceptance is complacency. And around here at Spirit Club, we are allergic to complacency. We are not complacent. We are like the opposite of complacent. We value aligning with our soul's path. We value doing the work to get there. We value doing what's hard for the evolution of our soul. And all of that is the opposite of complacency. But don't make the mistake that acceptance equals complacency, because it does not. Acceptance as we've been talking so far, is hard. Complacency is easy. Complacency is being asleep. Complacency is being blind. Complacency is doing the easy thing. Acceptance is not the easy thing. And I think you can see that from what we've talked about so far. Accepting what is, why we don't want to do it is because some truths are hard to meet. Ugh. So you may be resisting acceptance because there is a truth there that you're going to have to see, that you aren't ready to see, don't want to see, and so on. You know, most of the time you know what it is. Like, if you were to take a moment and to be truly honest with yourself, you would know the truth that you need to meet. But where the fear actually is in meeting that truth, I'm going to have to do something about it. And I'm not ready to do something about it. And like, listen, that's not true. I mean, you can meet a truth and not do anything about it. That's okay. That may be a part of your process. Meeting something that is true and taking time. It reminds me of a conversation I had with a friend recently who, has been having a really hard time, and through conversation, hard time with her energy and her work in this world. And through conversation, she met the truth, which was that she no longer was cut out for her business. She runs her own business. And in meeting that truth, I could see like the relief. And at the very same time, I could see the fear of like, oh my gosh, meeting this truth means I got to do something about it. And I'm not ready to do something about it. And so because of that, she quickly like erased the truth that she just met. She was like, no, that's not true. And I think this is like a prime example of why a lot of the time we don't want to practice acceptance. It's because we're so afraid of what we're going to have to do if we meet that truth. Like, I mean, imagine if the truth you had to meet was that you were no longer in love with your partner. Gulp. And then in meeting that truth, I'm going to have to do something about it. Of course, you're not going to practice acceptance. You're going to practice ignorance is bliss as long as you can. So yeah, there's another reason why we don't naturally practice acceptance. Another reason is because we have expectations. Whether we mean to or not, we have them. Expectations of others, expectations of yourself, expectations of your time, expectations of where your life is going to go. We have them. And honestly, I feel like I should do an entire episode on expectations because, but I'm not going to do that here. And I'm not going to talk about whether or not they're good or bad to have, whether or not you should have them or not. I'm just bringing up the fact that if you have them, you are going to have trouble with acceptance because you're going to have to do two things. You're going to have to accept what's true and lay down your expectations. And that's just like adding that extra step is even harder. So be mindful. If I have expectations, that's probably why I'm having a hard time accepting. And then the final reason why accepting what is can be difficult, this one's a bit different and has a different sort of flavor to it, but some of us believe that accepting what is true makes it okay. And perhaps what we need to accept is like something that someone did, the truth of what something that has happened or that someone did that was very hurtful for us. And if it was very hurtful, we may believe that if we accept it, we sort of like accept that kind of behavior is okay. And we accept that as a standard for ourselves. But that's not what we're saying. That is not what we're saying. What we're saying is you're accepting what is. You're just seeing it for what it is right in front of you. And in doing that, that allows you to move past it rather than like harboring this resentment, this grudge, this disappointment. So all of this really is in an effort to move on, an effort to move forward, which I know you all want. Okay, so finally, I'm sure you're wondering, okay, got it. I need to accept something. How do I do that? And I sat with this for a while, and honestly, it's actually very simple. Once you've gone through everything we've talked about above, the actual process of acceptance is quite simple. It is, if we go back to that metaphor, it is, you've got this person standing in front of you with their hand on your forehead and your head down, moving forward, okay? So the first step is to look up and to see what's in front of you, meet the truth. So the first step is to meet the truth, to see it for what it is, accept it for what it is without judgment. And then the second part is kind of like you have to stop. You have to stop pushing against it. So you have to let go or release something. So most of you probably know, if you've come this far in this episode, what it is that you need to accept. But if you don't, you can pull out your pen and you can do a little journaling and you can finish these sentences. I am frustrated or disappointed because. Take a minute, write that out, maybe pause the episode. I am frustrated or disappointed because. Second question is the simple truth, whether I want to hear it or not, is. Finish that sentence. The simple truth, whether I want to hear it or not, is. And now this third one is more like a statement to help you be in acceptance, which is, I accept that blank is what feels true right now. And I accept this without judgment. I accept that blank is true right now, and I accept this without judgment. And finally, I release. There's quite likely something you're going to have to release. Your agenda, your outcome, your expectations. I release. So if I were to do this example, let's use the one I gave you above. When I was out at work, I am frustrated and disappointed because I thought I was going to get to work in my business during this season. The simple truth, whether I want to hear it or not, is I don't have the time or the energy to do it. I accept that I don't have the time or energy to work on my business right now, and that's what feels true right now. And I accept it without judgment. This is sort of the giving of grace. And then I release the pressure of having to work on my business. Okay, so let's do another one. I am frustrated because my partner isn't showing me affection. I'm disappointed because my partner isn't showing me affection. The simple truth, whether I want to hear it or not, is I have some codependency. I'm really making this up on the spot, guys. The simple truth, whether I want to hear it or not, is I'm trying to get my partner to make me feel loved. I accept that that feels true right now, and I accept it without judgment. And I release needing that from my partner. Okay. So, and I just want to put a little qualifier here that truth is a slippery word, especially for us humans. Truth's a slippery one. Be careful in this exercise not to project. When you're doing this exercise, I really recommend that you focus on you and your truth, not the truth of others, not your interpretation of what's true outside of you, okay? Because quite likely that's going to be your projection. So just, beware. And that's basically it. You're just meeting what's in front of you, okay? And once you've done that, you will feel there's going to be a little bittersweetness because you have to let go of this, whatever it is that you're pushing forward. But there's also a peace to be met and eventually a flow. And there are going to be fears that come up. And you can use the following mantras, if you like, to help dampen the fear. Mantras like, through acceptance, I can move forward. This may be true right now, but that doesn't mean it won't change. There is something here for me. I surrender my will over to God, and I give myself grace. I give myself grace. Because there's a lot of grace in acceptance. I mean, I should have added that to the list of things you'll feel, but I don't know if grace is a feeling. I think it is. Anywho. Okay, that's it for today. I hope you meet truth here. I can feel the relief of it. And friends, if you're new here, hit subscribe so you don't miss each week's episode. And if this sounds like something a friend of yours needs, be sure to pass it along. And for those of you who don't know, I am also on Substack. So if you want to go hear more about this time that I had in the field working geology, or my time in Canada recently, that's where you're going to find that information, and you can find it in the show notes below. Okay, until next time.